She thought it would be the happiest day of her life, but instead of saying yes, she picked up the microphone and read his cheating messages out loud, in front of everyone. Find out how she found them out in our intriguing story. It was supposed to be the happiest night of her life. The music, the candles, the crowd gasping in anticipation. But Amaya, she didn't flinch. She stood there, eyes locked on the man down on one knee, holding out a ring while her phone buzzed in her palm. And as the room waited for her answer, Amaya looked down, scrolled, and the truth stared back. Dozens of messages from her best friend, sent just last night. Let's flashback a week earlier. Amaya was the kind of woman people underestimated because she's soft-spoken and graceful. A pediatric nurse with a heart too big for her own good. She'd been with Jordan for nearly 4 years. Jordan was also ambitious, charming, a rising political consultant with dreams of D.C. They were perfect on paper. Until the paper started to burn. She never snooped. That wasn't her. Last week, Jordan had left his laptop open while showering. A pop-up message blinked on the screen. Last night was risky, but worth it. Amaya shocked and had frozen after she read the message. Not because she suspected cheating, but because of the name attached to the message. Talia, her best friend since high school. The one who helped Jordan pick her birthday dress. The one who sat next to her during their housewarming dinner. And in that moment, something inside her split. She didn't cry. She watched. Every move. Every lie. She took screenshots. Saved backups. Waited. And when Jordan texted her, "Dinner Friday. Dress nice. I've got something special planned." She smiled. "Can't wait." But what he didn't know, she'd already seen the ring, hidden in his sock drawer. And this time, she wouldn't play the fool. The string quartet paused. Jordan cleared his throat. Cameras came out. Waiters whispered. He looked up at her, ring in hand. "Amaya, you've made me the happiest man." But Amaya raised one hand, not to stop him, to pull out her phone. She turned to the crowd, trembling, but her voice, solid. "Before I answer, I'd like to read a message from the man I love." Jordan froze. The audience leaned in. "Talia, can't believe she still doesn't know. You're such a good liar, babe. Don't forget our getaway next weekend." Gasp. "Jordan, don't worry. She's too busy saving sick kids to notice. After I propose, we'll figure it out." A fork dropped. Someone whispered, "Is this part of the proposal?" It wasn't. Life is deeper than the ocean. To help our channel grow, take a second to drop a comment in the comment section. Not everyone gets a moment to speak their truth, but when they do, make sure the world hears it. Now, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and share if you've ever been underestimated, lied to, or found your strength in the most unexpected moment. Back to our story. Amaya's hand shook, but she didn't stop. "Jordan. Talia, that thing you do with your tongue, God, I wish I could get that from Amaya." The crowd gasped again. Jordan stood up, pale. "Amaya, stop, this isn't the place." "No, this is exactly the place." She stared at him, tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but release. And then, she dropped the phone, turned, and walked out. Silence. Everyone stood frozen, until a man at the bar slowly clapped. Then he followed her outside. She was sitting on the curb, breathing heavy, when he knelt beside her. "You don't know me, but I know what you just did took guts." She looked up. He handed her a small card. "My name's Malik. I write for a column called Women Who Walked. And your story deserves to be told." She blinked. "Why would you care?" He smiled gently. "Because my sister went through the same thing." But no one believed her. Amaya looked down at the card. On the back it read, "We tell the stories they try to silence." She thought she was losing love. But maybe she was finally finding her voice. The silence that followed her exit echoed louder than the applause that had filled the air moments before. The video of her reading the messages at her own proposal had gone viral, not just because of the scandal, but because of the grace with which she'd handled it. No screaming, no chaos, just truth. Raw, undeniable truth in front of a crowd that had been expecting love, and got a lesson instead. She hadn't planned for it to become a movement, but days later, she was flooded with messages from women and men who had seen themselves in her story. Messages that read, "You gave me the courage to leave. I stayed quiet for too long. Thank you. I was her. I am her. She sat on her living room floor, her phone buzzing endlessly beside her, but her eyes were focused on the card the stranger had handed her after she walked off that stage. A clean, white card with one name, Dr. Maya Emerson, Emotional Recovery Retreats. It felt too soon, too much, too exposed, but something in her said go. She arrived with no makeup, no press, no Instagram posts, just herself, and for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. Dr. Maya was nothing like she expected. No preachy tone, no forced affirmations, just questions like, what were you hoping for when you said yes to him? What part of you kept trying to earn his public love while enduring his private betrayal? And then the one that broke her. Who are you when no one's watching? That night, she wrote a letter, not to him, but to herself. A version of her that had been so desperate for acceptance that she had accepted less. She read that letter aloud during a group session, and for the first time, her voice didn't shake. By the time she agreed to her first interview, her story was already being reshaped by the internet. Some called her a hero, others dramatic. A few said she staged the whole thing. But when she sat in that podcast studio, mic in front of her, headphones on, she wasn't there to defend herself. She was there to speak her truth. I didn't walk away because he cheated. I walked away because I finally realized I'd been cheating myself out of peace. The interviewer went silent, then leaned in. So what's next for you? She smiled. I don't know, but I'm done begging to be chosen. From now on, I choose me. 2 weeks later, a handwritten envelope arrived at her door. His handwriting. No return address. Inside, the letter read, You were always the better one. I didn't deserve the version of you who stayed. I hope one day you forgive the version of me who didn't know how to keep you. She folded it once, then twice, and dropped it in the trash, because closure doesn't always come from them. Sometimes it comes from you. 1 year later, she stood on a different stage, not as someone's partner, not as someone's background, but as the keynote speaker at a women's empowerment summit. Her topic, public pain, private healing, finding your voice after betrayal. She opened with humor. So, I went viral not for twerking, not for fashion, but for telling the truth at the worst moment possible. Laughter, connection, eyes locked on her. Then she shared what she had learned. Some people will only love you if you stay small, but shrinking to fit their comfort is not your purpose. And when she stepped down from the stage, a young woman approached her with tears in her eyes. You saved me. I watched your video the day I was going to marry someone who made me feel invisible. I didn't go through with it. I found myself instead. She hugged her, not like a celebrity, not like a speaker, like a sister. As she exited the venue, she noticed someone waiting near her car. A man, familiar, but not from her past. He had been in the audience, just like a year ago. He held a single notebook. I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say I was there that day, at the proposal, and watched it all. I also saw what you did after, the grace and strength. He hesitated. I'm a filmmaker, and I think the world needs to see your story. Not the viral version, the real one, the one only you can tell. She looked at him, then down at the notebook, then back at him, and smiled. Let's talk. Because some endings aren't endings at all. They're openings. And for the first time in a long time, she was ready to walk through one. Her story went viral, but she didn't tell it for views. She told it to heal. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself after betrayal, you are not alone. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notification so you know when we drop the next video, because the next story might just be yours. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.